We are live. It's Tuesday night, and it's another Therapy Tuesday episode for the Cleveland Browns. We'll go over what the F happened, what can we do about it, and what the hell is going on in that building in Berea, Ohio. Also, fantasy football under the waiver wire pickups for week 6. There's some heavy hitters on bye this week. We're in bye trouble, and we'll preview Eagles versus Browns with my ESPN buddy, Josh Hennig. That's all coming up on the show. Let's go.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Shabba-lubba hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Hello, everybody. Andy Mac with you. Browns lose again. They lost again. Still pretty pissed, but still very confused as well. We'll get to that in a moment. Fantasy football talk, lots of it. There's some surprises, there's some injuries, and there's some bye weeks we got to deal with. We'll have our DraftKings Sportsbook Sick Pick, early pick of the week, and preview Browns versus Eagles. Make sure you click notifications on subscribe. We love that. Click subscribe on social media, on X, on Twitter, at AndyMC81, at SickPodBrowns, and on Instagram, at AndyMC Sports. So get in there, click the notification, jump in the comments too. We're going to have a poll question up in a moment that we'll roll through. But just real quick, for Browns fans, I know it's frustrating, beyond frustrating. It's beyond frustrating for me. It feels hopeless. It feels like there's absolutely no way out. It feels insane because they literally keep doing the same thing and it's not working on offense. Why? Why does Jim Schwartz's defense forget to tackle? I'm not putting it all on the defense. If we're going to give any dog bones out this week, it's going to be the JOK. Oh, he got juked out of his socks by Jane Daniels. So what? Everybody does. Jane Daniels is amazing. He also had an interception and a forced fumble. How about that? Huh? JOK is not the problem. Myles Garrett's not the problem. Funny, too, how, and we've seen this before, Browns fans, where the team's bad and all of a sudden there's little hamstrings pop up. They hurt. You know, on the good teams, unless they're catastrophic injuries, you don't hear that. When the Browns were good last year, did we hear of anything that wasn't like a season ender? Guys try to play through. Now we're getting nicked up, and it's 1-4. How? 1-4. There's another F word I'd love to be screaming right now, and it's not 4. 1-4. Season's done. You asses in Berea. Look what you did. Look what you did. All you had to do was, one, not trade Baker Mayfield and screw him over. You did it. It's gone. I know. I keep bringing it up sometimes. It hurts. I love Baker. He looked pretty damn good, too, even in losing, didn't he? Okay. Make excuses. Maybe you wouldn't have done that here. I think he would have if you didn't hose him. Fine. More recently, Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, went with 4 different quarterbacks, including Joe Flacco, who said he wanted to come back. Front office said no. Was that Andrew Berry? Was that Jimmy Haslam? Was that Paul DePodesta, who's back on my crap list? I don't know. I know Kevin Stefanski wanted him back. That's for damn sure. That's the trouble with these slippery bastards, how they make it everything's collaborative. I'll talk to Josh Hennig from ESPN 97.3 in a moment because the Browns get that from Philadelphia. That's where Andrew Berry came from. Remember? Was what the Browns came back, trained a little bit. The collaboration, so you can't pick the blame. They're slippery. So we don't know who to be mad at. Kevin Stefanski's the poor sucker who's up there taking the hits. They're leaving him out to die. You think Kevin Stefanski, do you think this is his offense? And if you're Stefanski, look, it's like, all right, hey, 1 of 32 jobs. You want to be agreeable. It's part of the reason why he got the job, because he's agreeable. You get these old school coaches, they wouldn't put up with this. They probably also would have been fired. So that's where you are. But Joe Flacco wanted to come back, and you didn't bring him back because of Deshaun Watson's feelings. You didn't want to get in his head because you know, and we're seeing it. The Browns fans, you would have heard them wherever they are on the road screaming for Flacco. Everyone would be sweating from Flacco fever. Sweating right now. He gives you the best chance. You see what Flacco's been doing? Giving a chance at the Colts again? Wouldn't that look nice here? No. You got Jameis Winston. Okay. And Deshaun Watson is not going in without an injury. The only way he goes down is if he is injured. It's the only way you get rid of him. Okay. Is he, like I said last week, Deshaun Watson may not be the reason you completely lose a game, but he's certainly not the reason you're winning it. And the fact you're not putting up more, you haven't reached 20 points. You haven't reached 19 points this year. Horrific play calling. There's no identity. The run doesn't work. The offense, everything's collapsing. And it's all around that Deshaun Watson, that cloud. All around him. Now, I'm not quitting on this damn team. I've heard other media guys, they're done. Well, they're not really done, right? You come back. Well, I'm never going to say I'm done. I'll cheer for this freaking team until I'm dead, and then I'll keep cheering for him for wherever I end up. That's what I'm doing. I'm a Browns fan till I die and beyond. I love that city of Cleveland. I'm going to go down there in week 7 in Cincinnati. I'm going to have a great time. I love that city. I love the people. And shame on you, front office in Berea. Jimmy Haslam wants to win. I know it. But now you have to ride with your decision for Deshaun Watson. You made a horrific mistake, a blunder beyond blunders. Now you got to own it. The dumbest smart people, those Ivy Leaguers that I've ever seen. You want to be proven right? How's that going for you, jerks? Move on. It's done. You were wrong. Do it for the fan base, for God's sake. You want that new stadium? Come on. You're wasting the prime of Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, all these guys. Nick Chubb's going to come back for this? And Deshaun Watson was just a shadow of his former self. Get out of here, you bum. He's out there trying, but so what? I could go out there and try, and I would look just as bad, worse, of course, right? Doesn't mean if you try and you're just not good, it doesn't matter. So let Ken Dorsey run the damn play. We're going to bring Josh on in a sec. Bring up the poll, Shane, if you don't mind. On X, at SickPodBrown, sponsored, presented by our buddies at Stadium Mustard. I'll get to that in a minute. Buddies at Stadium Mustard, their poll. Under the wire, waiver wire pickups coming up. Here's the poll. So what one personnel change would you make now? If you could get in Jimmy Haslam's ear and kick Paul DePodesta to the curb, that rat, and get him out of the way, what one personnel change would you make? Would you fire the offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey? Would you let Dorsey call plays? Would you fire Kevin Stefanski? Or would you blow up the front office, bury DePodesta, all of it? What would you do right now? Let Dorsey call plays, slight lead, tie between fire Dorsey and blow up the front office, and fire Stefanski 4.2. I don't think firing Kevin Stefanski is the right move. I would say my order would be this. Let Dorsey call the plays because, Kevin, you can't call this offense. It's beyond clear. So you brought Dorsey in. Let him play. Let him call the plays. See what happens. He's supposed to be the genius to fix this offense. You went from a 10th ranked offense to pretty much dead last. And embarrassing in all figures. So let him call the plays for a couple weeks. Come on. If that doesn't work, then you can fire Ken Dorsey. But Andrew Berry is not free of blame here. That's for damn sure. His draft picks are looking terrible overall. You got some glimpses of hope. You got some great ones too, like JOK. But overall, this team is slow, old, and those 3 first-round picks and other picks you gave up for Deshaun Watson has crippled this team. They're old and slow. So what would you do? Hit us up in the comment section. Get us on X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. Choking on my own rage. We'll get to some fantasy football under the wire, waiver wire pickups in a little bit. But let's bring on my guy. I had a rant for a little bit. Josh Hennig from 97.3 ESPN. Josh, I'm sorry, buddy. Look at you with your Philly stuff. Look at you.
Well, I mean, they're losing 6-0 as we record this right now. So, I mean, it was worn for nothing, obviously.
Just like I wear my Brown stuff for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we got too much stuff to change allegiances, right? That's what I figured. Like, how are you? I got too much stuff.
Well, you know what the problem is? So to kind of pull the curtain back for those who are watching us and, or listening to us on the pod, in this business, I would say probably like half of our wardrobes are like given to us in some capacity. Right. Like it's either like our job like makes us shirts, right? And like you have to wear the shirt to the event, or it's you have the person who says, "Hey, I have a bunch of extra stuff. Here you go." Or like some advertisers like, wear this shirt because, it'll be like, like you have a Cleveland Browns shirt on, but like Cleveland Browns, sponsored by like underneath it or something.
Yeah.
So like, you could argue like so much of our wardrobes are not even like our wardrobes. it's more like, and here are the things that came with the job.
Here's how I clothe myself. You know what's funny? If like for my job with Woodbine from the horse racing side at my Railbirds, great follow by the way on all social. Sometimes it's like, oh, wear like I have to wear like I have dress shirts, but then it's like, oh, wear look casual. I'm like, I look at my casual stuff like it's all Browns or like you said, like sponsor stuff. Like I can't wear any of this.
Well,
the
best
rotation.
The best is, so this is a DraftKings show. Yeah. And there was a time where I was also doing work for DraftKings. And as a thank you at one point for doing my work for DraftKings, they sent me 2 clothing items. They sent me a DraftKings t-shirt, standard, right?
Yeah.
They also sent me a pair of DraftKings boxers.
Oh, that's different. Little intimate.
Fair to say they did not fit though. So
I got a shirt and a DraftKings hat. No boxers. Come on, DraftKings.
I would have loved the hat. I'm a big hat guy, man. I'm a big hat guy.
Tonight, I don't know why I don't have the hat up on the set. I'll put it up next time. Yeah. So you got the Eagles in the background. We're going to preview some Browns Eagles here. Josh, you heard me off the top. It is flabbergasting. At least in the 1-31 years, 2016-17, you had Cody Kessler. You knew the team was bad. You were still mad about it, but you knew there was no hope from the sense that, okay, they're just terrible. This is the same front office with Paul DePodesta, that skunk out in La Jolla, California, leading the way, who Jonah Hill played in Moneyball. How'd that work out? A's won nothing still. Made a movie about losers. Hate stupid movie. Anyway, DePodesta, he's out there. Okay, so his game plan, Josh's game plan was we're going to bottom out. They wanted to go NBA style. We're going to bottom out, and we're going to build through the draft. Well, that's great. We've built through the draft, and now we're here. You got rid of the guy you drafted in Baker Mayfield, shoved him out the door. Joe Flacco's gone. Now I got pervert Deshaun Watson, who, by the way, settled his most recent lawsuit with cash. Who knows what else is going to come up? So now we're on the verge of what do we do? Do you rebuild? I don't know. Do you blow it up again and waste all those people's time? It's ridiculous.
So my response to that is a couple of things. Is that, and I'll tell you who I voted for in the poll in a moment, myself personally. But before I get to that, the problem with the Browns for me is like it's like 2 sides of the same coin. It's on the one side of the coin is this is an organization that has a top-down problem. Mm-hmm. The reason why the Eagles model works in Philadelphia is because of who the owner is. Okay. Jerry Jones makes fun of the Eagles model, not because the Eagles model fails, but because Jerry Jones' ego is too big to let that model work.
Right.
And the model is basically the owner is not involved in a micro level. He only is involved in a macro level. And I think the problem in Cleveland, as well as the Jets, okay, I'm going to bring that into this because both Joe Douglas and Andrew Berry are both former Eagles front office guys. But they both have owners who are passive aggressive. Okay. Joe Douglas, who has, by the way, much worse record as a GM than Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry's at least 38-34. Yeah. Joe Douglas is 29-59. Okay. Ooh. The Jets haven't been to the playoffs since 2010. The Browns have been to the playoffs, twice in the Stefanski era?
Yeah.
So, it's amazing when you look at, it's like, here are the Eagles, here are the Browns, and here are the Jets. Like, they're not even on the scale anymore. But what they have in common is Woody Johnson and Jimmy Haslam, they get involved when they feel like getting involved. They don't actually have a consistent managerial oversight presence like Jeffrey Lurie does. When Woody Johnson talked about today at his press conference, reminded me of what Jimmy Haslam said a couple of years ago when they brought in Deshaun Watson. Because Woody Johnson said, well, after I spoke with, and they started listing off people he spoke with, right? Jimmy Haslam did the same thing a couple of years ago where he said, well, I spoke to this person and I spoke to that person. And then we decided to go and get Deshaun Watson to be our franchise quarterback. And it's like, but the difference is Jeffrey Lurie has those conversations throughout the year. One of the reasons why the rumors about Bill Belichick have been so rebuffed by people who cover the Eagles, is because of the fact that one of the reasons that Chip Kelly is no longer in Philadelphia is because Jeffrey Lurie was so mad that Chip Kelly demanded full control of the franchise. And Chip Kelly demanded to shove Howie Roseman to the broom closet. Like Howie Roseman was in a part of the building that was so far away from player personnel that nobody actually knew where he was. Correct.
Really?
And when Chip Kelly, after the embarrassing loss they had on Thanksgiving, I'm going to bring this back to the Browns in a minute.
Yeah.
When they lost that game on Thanksgiving, Chip Kelly didn't want to talk to the media. He didn't want to talk to the owner. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He claimed, I have to get back to work. It got so tenuous in the building that Chip Kelly refused to go to the holiday Christmas party the Eagles have every year because he claimed he was too busy preparing for the game. And Jeffrey Lurie, which depending on which reporter you talk to on and off the record, said, I want my football team back. And ever since then, whether it's Doug Peterson or Nick Sirianni, that head coach talks to the owner every week. Every single week in season and then in the off season, like OTAs and stuff. Jeffrey Lurie demands to have communication. He doesn't tell you what to do, Andy. He just wants to be involved and understand, because one of the things that people don't understand about Jeffrey Lurie is that he is not a controlling owner like Jerry Jones, but he's still involved. I think the problem is for organizations like the Browns is Jimmy Haslam and D Haslam, they spend more time at pro days than they do, I think, with the actual team that they own. And I think at the end of the day, we can blame the front office, which they have made some major blunders, right? When it comes to the draft, acquiring Deshaun Watson, right? But I think at the end of the day, you didn't have in the poll. I would blame the owner above everyone else because he is setting a standard of indifference in this organization. And so that's why for me, when I voted in your poll, I voted to fire Ken Dorsey. Not because I think Ken Dorsey is to blame, but because I think that at the end of the day, I can't fire the owner. So I need to fire somebody that just be like, well, Ken, it was a good 5 games. Get out of Dodge.
Get the hell out of here. It's interesting you say that because it does seem like for Jimmy Haslam, and that's sort of been the word, like you can get in Jimmy's ear. Yeah, like they'll talk or listen to the reporters or saying that, ooh, that would be nice. That would be good. Hey, I don't like Baker Mayfield ruffles feathers. Let's go get Deshaun Watson. Let's move heaven and earth. And I'll tell you this, Josh, you could tell. And that's why I've never blamed Andrew Berry or Kevin Stefanski for the Deshaun Watson trade, because you could tell from their body language, their faces, and their voices on that intro press conference when they had to announce that they brought them in. Josh, it looked like both just had their dog died. They just learned that their dog died. It was like, yeah, ooh, yeah. The owner wanted him. It's like the draft day movie, Josh, where like Sonny Weaver Jr., the owner says, make a splash, Sonny. And he does, except Andrew Berry didn't watch to the end of the movie where he gets all his draft picks back. He didn't watch to the end, and he didn't get David Putney either, Josh. Instead, we just gave away the draft picks, and now I'm stuck with Deshaun Watson, who has an 8 quarterback rating. An 8. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So we look at this Eagles game at 1, and I'll tell you this. Like, I was hoping at the start of the year, I'll have Josh on Eagles. We'll have a friendly gentleman's wager. Josh, you'll have to wear a Browns hat. I can't do that now. They're not winning this game. There's no friendly wager. It's like, oh, they won't lose by 50, and you have to wear the hat. That's it.
Yeah, the problem with the Browns is, and at least in the, from my watching, I'm not watching as intently as you are, but every Browns game that I have watched this year, because I want to watch the opponents of the Eagles, right? That's kind of like my mindset. someone who covers the Eagles, that's what we do, okay, in the business. And every time I've watched the Browns, I keep thinking the same thing. Is this offense capable of getting 3 touchdowns?
No.
And so
remember, the defense has 2 touchdowns this year too.
Right.
So those scores you see where the Browns haven't scored 20, 14 of those points are from the defense.
And I think that's the only reason why this game might be close, is because I think the defense is actually better than the numbers show. Like, I'm sure that, somebody listening to the Sick podcast or watching you and I talk on YouTube, they can sit there and be like, well, the Browns are this, in run defense and this in points allowed. And, they have the whatever stat you want to use. Take away the stats. The Browns actually are blitzing, I think it was the 3rd most in the NFL this year. That is Jim Schwartz's way of saying, I am willing to forsake what I do best. I am going to take away, because he did not like the blitz in Philadelphia,
all the front.
Detroit, in Buffalo. His whole system is, I have 4 down linemen. They're going to run downhill at the quarterback, and it's on the linebackers to fill the gaps.
Yeah.
In Cleveland, I think he realizes my quarterback stinks. I like my head coach. I am just going to go and pull every trick I've ever learned from everyone I've ever worked with. Because remember, go through Jim Schwartz's coaching history. Who has Jim Schwartz worked with? Bill Belichick, Jeff Fisher, Mike Pettin, Doug Peterson, and now he's been in Cleveland. What do all those coaches have in common? They're all a little weird. So Schwartz says, you know what? He's being like Michael Keaton, right? In the Batman. You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Or if you're a Seinfeld, or if you're a Seinfeld fan, where George says, gets in the car and says, well, you know what? Why don't we just get nuts here? He just jumps in the car.
I got nuts. Yeah.
So it's like, to me, I think that's the reason why this game might be close early on, is because Philadelphia, coming off a bye week, they still don't have an identity. Yes, you're supposed to have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith back. Yes, you're supposed to have Lane Johnson back. But even when you had those guys in week 1 against the Packers, we all saw the game. It was the only game on Friday night, right?
Yes.
You couldn't avoid it. It was on television. It was on Peacock. It was everywhere. You saw that they were a slow starting offense. And to me, I think that's where Schwartz is just going to be like, Myles Garrett and everybody, we're just going to go hunting. And we don't even care anymore if they score on us. We're just going to go try to kill the quarterback and hope for the best.
Like, the frustrating thing is, too, and Schwartz admitted this, Josh. He's like, yeah, we're not really concentrating on the edges.
Yeah.
Like that. I thank you for your honesty, sir. But, that's a bit of a problem, because guess what the teams are all doing? They're going around the edges. So if you're going to do that, then have the linebackers, whatever. The cornerbacks, the tackling's been terrible. It's just very confusing. But I'm with you. The defense, while not at the level it was last year, certainly can be good enough to win you ball games. They've gotten some turnovers. They've scored touchdowns. They've done enough to win you games, to put you in a position to win. And up until last week, 2 consecutive games, Deshaun Watson and that offense and the bad play calling had 3 drives in the 4th quarter in 2 consecutive games, 6 total, to win the game, and you couldn't do it. Now, how's that? That's demoralizing. How about this defense is going to be dead ass tired? There's 3 and outs all over. Josh, do you want to know what they were 0 for 12 until Jameis Winston got 1 third down conversion at the end of the game, last game. 0 for 12. What? $174 million offense, 0 for 12. It's shocking. So we look at Philadelphia, like you said, coming off the bye. And all of a sudden, a very interesting NFC East. We certainly, I was excited at the start of the year. I thought Jane Daniels would be good, but I thought, this is maybe 7-10 if you're lucky, and they'll build. Well, this team's rolling, man. I don't know if they keep it going, but what does that NFC East look like to you?
It looks like a division where it's going to be whatever team gets hot in November and December is going to win it. And I hate to oversimplify it, but I say that because there was no reality that I thought the Cowboys were going to win that game in Pittsburgh on Sunday night. I mean, I was so convinced. Now, look, I will admit I did hit the under on the under pick.
We hit
I mean,
that. Yep.
You know, we hit that, right? You were on my show. We
Yep.
locked that in. But Andy, the way Dallas ran the ball on Pittsburgh, it was almost like Pittsburgh's defensive coordinator Terrell Austin called Jim Schwartz and said, what's the easiest way to get the ball run on you? Because I felt like I was watching the Browns play defense. Like they were just these random downs where it was like one down, completely shut them down. The next down, wide open 20-yard run. You're just like, what is going on? It's Rico Dowdle, for goodness sake. And now you got all these fantasy people, right? Who, Andy, are like, Rico Dowdle. I got to pick up Rico Dowdle. And it's like, this is the Patriots all over again. This is the Patriots running backs where it's like 1 week it's one guy, the next week it's somebody else. But instead of it being on one team, it's all the teams in the league at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
You're absolutely right here. And you know what? Let's make our Browns Eagles. Let's make a little DraftKings Sportsbook bet here. Let's go to Sick Picks.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Fine, Josh. My sick pick, I have alternate spread is what I'm going to. Okay. Eagles are favored so far, 8.5. I say, no problemo. I'm going more for the Eagles. I'm debating going 14.5. I'll give the Browns defense a little credit. I'll say 13.5 pays plus 162 for the Eagles. The Eagles to win by 13.5, over 13.5, plus 162. That's my sick pick because I have no confidence that this Browns offense can score the way it is. So that's mine.
So my question before I give you a pick is, what is going on with Jordan Hicks?
He's been banged up a bit. And when he's in there, by the way, he's been fantastic.
That's the story of his career.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, and Schwartz knows him from Philly and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So the report early on a Tuesday is we're going to find out his status on Wednesday for the week. So he was banged up last week. If he is going to play, now we have to see. So he's kind of in that tenuous spot where it's like, maybe he'll play. That's kind of it. JOK has been phenomenal. But really outside of that, he's one guy. And then the linebacker group is just a rotation of just guys, of Jags. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, so the status of Hicks definitely makes me a little bit wary of trying to play around with the Browns defense. Let's go with the Browns offense then. You know, I know on DraftKings, you can get tons of different odds for you can literally pick any number you want basically on the board at DraftKings Sportsbook. So the number I'm going to go with, because it is the first number, at least in front of me, that has a plus number, under 15.5 is plus 120. And the reason why I'm going with plus 15.5 is because I definitely could see a scenario where the Browns score 2 touchdowns or the Browns score, a touchdown and 3 field goals, right? I could totally see those
or the defense scores one. Yeah.
Or the defense scores one, right? The problem with the Browns is if the Browns have problems with Washington
and the
Washington
Giants
defense is not good.
No.
Okay. And you got kicked around by the Giants at home, right?
Yeah.
How am I looking at this team and saying, yeah, they're going to score 3 touchdowns? I don't see it, Andy. And by the way, even Nick Chubb magically was like, I'm ready to go this Sunday. Are we really confident that Nick Chubb is going to be the answer either?
That offensive line is in tatters, Josh. You still don't have your 2 proper starting tackles. And everybody else is just discombobulated. They keep beating themselves with penalties. So you're right. The running game, Jerome Ford and Donta Foreman are not world beaters. They're not Hall of Famers, but they're good. I would say good running backs. They can't do anything.
Right.
And in part, that's the offensive line. And also it's in part, when I look at it, it's uncreative play calling like that entire offense. I saw Josh against Washington. I saw it so many times. I'm like, I see 8 in the box. And I said, watch, they're going to run it right up the middle of these dumb bastards. And they did over and over. You ran into a wall and then you're like, oh man, didn't get anything. What?
And Andy, you know I'm a big believer in sometimes the book tells you something.
Yeah.
Right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, there is a touchdown prop for total touchdowns in the game.
Oh, okay.
It is minus 140 for under 5. They're basically telling you that this game is more likely to be low scoring than not. And I think we all can agree that the better offense in this game is Philadelphia.
Yes. The high school down your street is playing better, Josh. But the thing is too, it's not like Philly's offense is clicking on all cylinders, so that under makes sense. It will be interesting if you get Devonta Foreman back. Like fantasy football wise, my advice is start the Eagles defense. Get everybody you can. Get him in. Get him in. Why not? Right? Get him going, get him in, and see what happens there. That's really what it is, right? So yeah, that's not bad on that under there. And we'll see. Like it's a case where if nothing changes, like if they go back, like if they come out and say, hey, we're gonna have Ken Dorsey call plays, at least you're trying something different. If you don't, there's no reason to watch the game.
To me, the bigger thing is if the Browns were actually run by people who had stones.
Yeah.
Just go downstairs to Stefanski and say, Kevin, I understand you're the head coach, but we're letting you know that we are expecting you to bench Deshaun Watson for a game, not permanently. Come up with some dumb excuse.
He's hurt.
Watson is dealing with personal reasons. Deshaun Watson had a mental breakdown and he needs time off. Deshaun Watson is going to see therapists. Deshaun Watson broke his toe in practice. Make something up.
Yeah. He's injury prone. That can happen.
Right. Be like, oh, Deshaun Watson, he slipped and fell in the training room. Just make up anything.
Yeah.
And go to Deshaun and be like, Deshaun, you're not playing this week. We're going to play Jameis. Not because we hate you, Deshaun, but because you're not playing good. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we just want to see what happens when we put a different quarterback in there. And if Deshaun pushes back on that, what do? You call the NFL Players Association and you talk to them about filing a grievance against his contract and try to get some of the money voided. You go and play Jameis Winston. You leak some rumors to Adam Schefter and be like, Deshaun Watson is not being compliant with his contract, and then let his agent try to put out the fire. Let them be on the defensive. Meanwhile, you go out there and be like, Jameis, go be Jameis. Because the weird thing is, you and I talked about this before, Andy. People like Jameis. I don't know what it is, but like everyone likes this guy.
He's very likable. And the media stuff, we see the videos. He seems like a fun guy to be around.
So like maybe that's the answer. Maybe the Browns just need goofy Jameis to go in there telling people to eat the W, in the mouth, alphabet soup and everything. Because, maybe just go have some fun again. Maybe have fun.
They're not having fun.
Football.
That's a very good point. They go out, you see Deshaun's face, you see everyone's face. It's just like grim. So that would be something. My only thing about that is, Josh, the guys who wanted Deshaun to work apparently haven't seen enough. I don't think Jimmy Haslam and Paul DePodesta would allow him to be benched. So I think
that's a problem.
That's a huge problem. That's not a football decision. If it was about football, you would have brought Joe Flacco back as the backup. You would have brought Joe Flacco back. But it wasn't about football. It was about these guys these egghead Ivy Leaguers trying to prove that they're smarter than everybody else, and they continuously prove that they're dumb at football. And that's really where we're looking at it. So that's why my thinking is, if you brought in Ken Dorsey to change this offense, to tailor it to Deshaun, we're not seeing that. Kevin Stefanski either isn't calling the plays or is incapable of doing it. So why the hell are we not putting Ken Dorsey in to do it? If that's why you're here, bro, call it.
The Ken
Does
Dorsey,
it happen? Like
the Ken Dorsey thing is perplexing because I know the reason you gave me in the offseason. Okay. And if I'm not quoting you correctly, please correct me. Okay.
Yeah.
But you told me that part of the reason why Ken Dorsey is here is because of his experience in Carolina
with Josh Allen. And Deshaun and Cam are boys.
Right. So from what I understand, the whole reason why Dorsey is here is because of Deshaun Watson.
100%.
So, a football person, right? Not Paul D. Podesta, a football person would put Dorsey and Deshaun Watson in a room and tell Stefanski to stand outside in the hallway.
Yeah.
And just be like, so what's up, guys? What's going on here? We literally say, Dorsey, we brought you here for him, and you are here to work with him. So why is this not working?
Yeah.
And if they both blame Stefanski, then you call Kevin in the room, and then it's that Bud Light commercial where you have Shane Gillis with them saying, hey, if you confess something, you get a Bud Light. It's and it's like, I don't know if you had that commercial in Canada or not, but
I think I've seen that one.
It's all over the place down here.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
I think I've seen
and
that
it's
one.
like, at some point, football decisions need to be made in Cleveland
By football people.
I don't even
Not
know if he's
failed
a
baseball
football
executives.
person. Maybe it's my mother. Like, send my mother in there to like figure it out. Like, I don't know. Like, I think it's more of a common sense problem because, as I said, Jimmy Haslam, he picks and chooses when he wants to be involved.
Yeah.
And Paul D. Podesta is starting to look like the Haslam what Rich McKay is to Arthur Blank in Atlanta, where it's like the shadow master, the man behind the scenes, is telling the owner, whispering things in his ear, and the owner acts like, oh, I got this great idea. I got it from him, and it's like, for example, the whole thing with Atlanta and Cleveland, what do they have in common? They both have had weird drafts in recent years.
Yeah.
And
Michael
it's like,
Penix,
even before Penix, it's like, why did you draft Kyle Pitts if you're never going to use him? You know what I mean? It's like, why does it take Kirk Cousins to be like, I got this athletic tight end. Why don't I try throwing the ball to him? Like, at some point, it's not even football decisions anymore. It's like common sense decisions. Like, you're telling me that every quarterback in Atlanta couldn't throw to Kyle Pitts, but only Kirk Cousins can figure it out. And it's the same thing in Cleveland. Like, who is the person who sat there and said, you know what we don't need? Offensive line. You know what I mean? How does that work?
And let our offensive line get. Now, Bill Callahan, he goes with his son, Brian, but I've never seen the removal of an assistant coach have such a huge impact. I've never seen it. And it is. I got one more question for you, Josh. Now, we see here, Devin White's been released from the Eagles. That is correct.
Yes, he has been released. You want the story behind that?
I would. And the reason I'm thinking, I'm like, now, granted, I haven't been following Devin White's career super closely, but I remember him being good at times.
He was a first-round pick.
Yeah, and he was very good. And we had Devin Bush on the Browns now, who is also a first-round pick with the Steelers. So he has the Eagles connection. Maybe is this somebody the Browns should be looking at since he's a free agent at linebacker? Like, what's the angle?
I mean, my gut instinct would be to say no, because Devin White was brought in here for the specific reason that he had like a 3-year run where he was arguing with the best linebackers in the league. And like Travis Kelce has said on him and Jason's podcast, that New Heights Show podcast, he has said multiple times that part of the reason why the Chiefs lost that Super Bowl was because of Devin White. So it's like, this guy was considered at LSU and now in the pros for a time period like this ascending player. At the end in Tampa, it was like, good grief, get out of here. Basically, it was like nobody missed him, basically, in Tampa. And the reason why he was brought to Philadelphia is, and then we never really got a full answer about this yet. Okay. But somebody in the Eagles organization basically did the old, what they do with quarterbacks. If I get my hands on him, I'll make something of him, right?
First round pick. Yeah.
Right. And he got the starting reps for 3 weeks of training camp. Not 1, not 2, 3 weeks. He was the first team every down linebacker in every single practice. And then one day out of nowhere, he's not the starter. Then he has this weird injury that nobody knew about until like 2 days before they left for Brazil. And he stays home from the trip. And that was the game in versus the Packers in Brazil where Zach Bond went nuts, right? We all saw that game where he had an amazing game.
Bond,
The next week, he is inactive for the next game. And you're like, what's going on here? Then after the second game of the year, that game that they barely lost to the Falcons, right?
Right.
Vic Fangio comes out to the media, and Vic Fangio doesn't need truth serum. The guy is just honest, okay? He's amazing. He makes Schwartz look like a political politician. Like the political spin lacking in Vic Fangio's body is incredible. And they asked him, and he said, well, the Kobe Dean won the job, clearly in camp. Well, they asked Devin White about it, does the media. And White says, nobody told me that he won the job.
Oh.
So then he doesn't travel with the team again to Tampa. Then, for whatever reason, Philadelphia waited, 8 days since they were in Tampa? They didn't even release him in the bye week. They waited until today to release the guy. It's almost like they were trying to figure out if they could salvage this. And they got to a point and they said, you know what? We want to eventually activate Sidney Brown from injured reserve because he's eventually going to come back and play.
Right.
Let's just cut bait now. And Andy, you know how this works in football. You don't cut bait unless a guy is legitimately not contributing anything.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that it has been confirmed that Devin White refused to be a special teams player. And so
we got big attitude problem.
So, now we're kind of entering a new dimension here where it's like, is he really a team player? Is he a me guy? Did they try to get through to him and they couldn't get through to him? So now, where does Devin White go? And if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I don't think Jim Schwartz wants to put up with that. I think Devin White needs to go somewhere where, like for example, a team like Miami, where they hated Vic Fangio because he was too strict and he was too regimented. Let him go down there and basically said, free reign, kid, do whatever the bleep you want. And maybe he can be something because I'm assuming that is all he's capable of at this point, at least mentally upstairs. Because on the flip side, CJ Gardner-Johnson, when he left Philadelphia because they wouldn't give him the contract that he wanted.
Right.
After that Super Bowl year. He went on his Twitch channel and he said, bleep Philadelphia, bleep those fans. He goes, the only thing I liked about that town was the weather. Okay. Which is hilarious in and of itself.
It's not tropical. Yeah.
Right. So then he comes back to Philadelphia this year in front of the media the day he's introduced, and he says, I messed up. I was an idiot. I need to go to Detroit and be humbled and mature. And I came back and I'm going to be a more mature human being because I was an idiot and I deserved to not get that contract.
That's refreshing.
On one hand, you have CJ Gardner-Johnson. On the other hand, you have Devin White.
Yeah. And Gardner-Johnson, then he owns it. So that diffuses everything. Like, what are you going to say? He's like, yeah, I was dumb. Like, that's what it is.
He said way more expletives than I just used.
Yeah.
It was the press conference was it was like 8 to 12 minutes of just CJ Gardner-Johnson, every other answer saying, yeah, some curse word with the answer. Like it was almost like a parody. Like I almost thought it was fake at first.
It was just like so he's there, and okay, so Devin White, maybe we're not too interested, Browns fans. Thank you for clarifying that, Josh. Thank you. Gonna take a pass on the other Devin. We got one Devin in the first round, Devin Bush. We're gonna pass on the other Devin White for now. So that's which means, of course, the Browns will sign him tomorrow morning. Guaranteed.
Oh my goodness.
Josh, you've been more than generous with your time, brother. It's been a long day for you. Tell people where they can find you, all your good stuff, because it's not just Philly sports. You bring the bet and the fantasy, all sorts of stuff there.
Yeah, so 973 ESPN FM, 973ESPN.com. Also at Josh Hennig on the Twitter X platform is where you find me. I do my show typically Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock, except for today because the Phillies decided to play a game at 5 o'clock in New York.
Baseball.
Yeah, and they lost 7-2. That happened over my shoulder there. Thanks for scoring 2 runs, Phillies.
Cost somebody an over. Cost somebody an over 100.
Okay, can I just say really quick? Like, Andy, you've been a sports guy for a long time.
Yeah.
Because you're not just football. You're diversified as yourself, right?
Yes.
We talk about on 973 ESPN a lot about this point. When you have almost $1 billion invested in a group of players, not a million, not 100 million, $1 billion in a group of players, and in 2 of the 4 games, they could only score 2 runs. At what point as an organization do you look around and you say, like you are with the Browns,
yeah,
maybe we should just cut bait?
Yeah. What is it that you do here, people? You're getting paid.
Office space.
Office space. You're getting paid. You're paying Milton still. What's he doing? He's looking for a stapler. Hey?
What is it you do here?
What is it that you do here? I'm a people person, god damn it. That movie is still love. I still freaking love that movie. Late 90s. Was it Peter Silverman, young Jennifer Aniston?
Yes.
Oh my god. What a
maybe that's what the Browns need. They need a people person.
I think I'm gonna watch that tonight. I need a laugh. I need a smile. I think I'm gonna, it must be on Netflix or something. I'll find it somewhere.
Listen, if you can't, I always tell people, if it's not on one of the 10 streaming platforms that you pay for, just if you search the internet long enough, you'll find some random place that has it.
You'll probably something on YouTube for it. Yeah.
Like I'm not even kidding. I was talking to my parents the other day, and I walked in the room and they're watching the Fifth Element, that Bruce Willis movie, right?
Oh yeah, that was a weird one. I didn't like that one.
But guess what? They were watching it on a streaming platform under a fake name, because apparently it wasn't supposed to be on that streaming platform, but the streaming platform put it up under a fake name. And if it was one of those things where it was like, wait a minute, the cover photo looks like the Fifth Element, but the name is wrong.
It's like an Easter egg.
And they were like, wait a minute, this is the Fifth Element. And they just kept watching it. I was like,
it's like those old DVD Easter eggs, right? Where if you like right click twice or something, something pops up.
Right.
I got wrestling DVD sets. You can find like secret like Ric Flair matches if you click 3 times somewhere. Interesting.
It's like what was it?
Unlockables.
Did you ever play Triple Play 97?
No. My favorite baseball video game was World Series Baseball 95 Sega Genesis.
Okay.
I love that game. I don't think I played 97, no.
Triple Play 97, there was like some weird like button combination, and it like unlocked like all of these like legendary players.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like I think I put like Babe Ruth on like the Seattle Mariners or something like that. I went like really got really weird with it, because it was like the whole 2019 27 Yankees team, like a couple other teams. And it was like, at that point, you're just like, all right, well, I got it now. Like I can mess around with this. And it was like, it was just ridiculous.
That'd be interesting. Unlockable. 97 Yanks. Yeah. World Series Baseball 95. I remember they had one glitch where if you hit a home run, or not a home run, if you charged home and you collided with the catcher would spin and turn into a carrot. A giant carrot on the ground.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of, what was it? NHL, I think 95 or something like that, where it was like, if you took a slap shot from like a certain spot on the ice, the goalie would always freeze.
Yes. I don't know if it's the one you're talking about, but there's NHL 97, which was my favorite hockey game on Sega. And it was, if you came down the right wing boards on the screen coming down on the right wing, and if you lined up for a slap shot at the top of the circle at the right time, you would score every time. You would always score. These little glitches. Video games today, they're so polished.
I know.
Right?
They're too polished.
Too polished. Where's guys turning into carrots and unlocking the 1927 Yankees. Come on. Oh my gosh. All right, buddy. Well, we could do this all day. Let's do it again soon. I'll be with you next week, I guess, right?
Yes. You join me. You join me weekly on game night on 97.3 ESPN. So
I'll see you next week.
Yes, you'll see me. You'll talk to me next week. And, by then we will either be having a conversation about, how the Browns look worse, or we'll have a conversation about, you know what? Jim Schwartz is a great defensive coordinator. Maybe he should be head coach.
If they beat the Eagles, I think that would have to be the conversation. So we'll see. Always a good time, my friend. Thank you.
Absolutely, Andy.
All right, there he goes. Josh Hennig, 97.3 ESPN. Make sure you give him a follow on all social at Josh Hennig. One of my favorite guys in the biz. Always love Josh. And by the way, folks, TD Tutty in for 6. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And we don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Maybe it's for a Cleveland Brown offensive player to score a touchdown. I wouldn't make that bet, but you could. Maybe one will score this week. Who knows? But you can go through each game and pick a player you want to have a touchdown. Pop it in there. Anytime, first, last. Lots of great options and variety to bet on at DraftKings Sportsbook. So if you're ready to do your touchdown dance of your own, head on over. New DraftKings customers bet $5. You get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big. DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Use code 6sports. That's code 6sports for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
All right, so there you go. We got in the chat Warren Allen in there, who's a Commanders fan. Put in a football. So, yeah, Commanders are good. I love Jaden Daniels. I got him plus 650 for Rookie of the Year right after the draft. I hope you guys listened to me and did as well. Okay, I had a great chat with Josh there. Let's finish up with some fantasy football talk for Week 6 because we got a lot of team on buys and we got some work to do on that to go under the wire. And of course, Under the Wire, Waiver Wire Pickups is brought to you by Stadium Mustard. You got to get your Stadium Mustard right there on your hot dogs, your burgers, your deli sandwiches, whatever you put mustard on, get rid of the other stuff. This has the zing. This has the red pepper. This has that extra little bit that makes everything better. I absolutely love Stadium Mustard. My guy Bill and the team, they're phenomenal people because from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between, Stadium Mustard is a smooth but spicy mustard, rich in taste and tradition. Stadium Mustard is real and organic, not manufactured. That's why it tastes so good. Not chemically, real and organic. Available at the Brown Stadium. I'm going to have it when I'm down Week 7. You're damn right I'm going to be going. I might get several dogs to not have to watch the Browns offense play. Put some Stadium Mustard on it. Guardians Minor League and Northwoods League games as well. Order online. Check it out. Stadium Mustard. I love it. And if you haven't tried it, try it. And I promise you will love it too. All right. Let's look. We got Week 6 coming up. Let's first check the teams on bye. We got this week the Chiefs. Oof, that's going to hurt. The Rams. Lots of weapons. The Dolphins. Yeah, weapons in theory, but they're toast. And the Vikings, lots of weapons. So there's some work to do. So ones to pick up. I mentioned earlier in the offseason that you wanted to stash and hold Tank Bigsby. And it took a while, and you want to be patient. It's tough to be patient these days, but Tank Bigsby finally went off. And it looks like this could be the start of a timeshare, right? We've seen with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bucky Irving creep up, Rashad White. Is this Tank Bigsby's time? Because he absolutely exploded. 13 rushes, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, and also caught a ball for 28. Now, is this something that's going to continue? I'm not sure. But he's available in over 80% of most leagues. So go get him. We know how thin running backs are. Injuries to note. Vikings, Aaron Jones. So they're off. He has the hip. Will he be recovered? Not sure. If you have Ty Chandler on your bench, keep him. If you can get him, go get him as a just in case, because Ty Chandler, when given the chance, has been able to pop. So Ty Chandler, another running back to pick up. He just won't do you any good this week. Aaron Jones, the hip. Jets, Aaron Rodgers has the ankle. He'll play. New head coach. Fire poor Robert Saleh. What a mess there. Texans, Nico Collins hamstring. That is one to track, because if Nico's out, who's been absolutely sensational, you obviously have to up your Stephon Diggs, right? Who's done really well fantasy-wise too. And then for the Dolphins, Devin Achane, concussion. Another concussion in Miami. So with that, you look at the Dolphins, and you know what? Let's just look at the health of the Dolphins running back core real quick, because they have so many guys and so many were banged up, right? Raheem Mostert, you kind of lose track of him. Jalen Wright, I have him stashed on a couple of my leagues. Let's see. Shane's concussion. Mostert looks like he's healthy. Jalen Wright, Jeff Wilson Jr. So you're probably going to be in some schmoz of a committee. I don't know if you really want to get into that, right? Tyrone Tracy of the Giants is another one to keep an eye on. 62% of the snap share with Devin Singletary out. So he's somebody, again, is Singletary going to be able to come back? If he isn't, got to play Tracy. If he is, you don't play Tracy. So we're in a lot of handcuff situations to add. Tyrone Tracy rostering just 23% of most leagues. Quarterback wise, like, look, if you haven't got your Baker Mayfield yet, what are you doing? Right? Like, go look. go look at who's doing what. And check Joe Flacco, right? If he plays. Anthony Richardson, unknown early in the week if he's going to play. You can get him. Mentioned Ty Chandler. Another one as a stash, Blake Corum for the Rams. Hasn't played anything, but we know he can pop. But Kyren Williams has been so good. So it's more at this point in the season, you're trying to navigate your bench and be ready just in case. Jalen Wright falls into that category. Guy I do want for sure. Now, you got to check his hand injury. But who was I telling you about at the start of the year? Jalen Tolbert. And when Cooks inevitably would get injured, Tolbert would have his day, and he did. He's had some down weeks for sure, but he popped earlier in the season, and he exploded. 7 catches, 87 yards on 10 targets. So he's the number 2 behind CeeDee Lamb. Jalen Tolbert's available in 93% of most leagues. So you're looking for a WR 3 or a flex with 2 upside. Jalen Tolbert is right there. It's right there. And top defenses, I like the Denver Broncos. And unfortunately, you got to go get the Eagles against the Browns. Look at the teams who have faced them. Look at the fantasy points they have put up. I want to be wrong. I hope the Browns offense explodes. But hope is not a strategy, as we say. Doesn't happen. So that's where we are. You got any fantasy football questions? Hit me up in the comments. Subscribe. Notifications on for the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. We go live every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Answer your fantasy football questions live. Have our parlay party. Preview the Browns game and swing around the entire league and get ready. But any fantasy football or betting questions, hashtag Ask Andy on Twitter, on X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Instagram at AndyMCSports. Follow. Use the hashtag Ask Andy. We get back to you. Have a lot of fun there. Thank you so much to Josh Hennig. That was a great show. There's a lot of fun. Felt like I got a lot out of there. Yeah, look, we're a venting spot. It's a therapy Tuesday. Okay, you want to get it out? Let it out. Let me know what you think. Vote in the poll as well on what personnel change you would make for the Cleveland Browns. We got that up there at SickPodBrowns. So there you go. Thanks to my guest, Josh Hennig of 97.3 ESPN, producer Shane, and all of you. You've been watching the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. And as always, go Browns.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.